Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, you're welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome as well. Today's video, we're going to learn how to make this beautiful gathered free dress. If this is something that interests you, kindly watch this video to the end and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. So right here is my fabric. I folded it into 4 and I've also marked my starting point line. So what I have here is about 20 inches altogether. The cutter of our hip is 10 inches. I will need 1 inch for sewing allowance, so the remaining 8 inches I'll mark 4 inches from the middle point here, and then the remaining 4 inches will form an A shape at the side. So right here I'm going to mark 4 inches out first. Remember, I've added everything to my measurement. So before I continue, I'm going to mark the length of this gown first. Okay, and the length of this gown, this is an off shoulder. Okay, and I'm taking 6 inches off. So that 6 inches, I'm placing it at that starting point line. Can you see it? And the length of the gown is 37 inches. Now the gown is going to have a gathers at the lower part, so I'm going to minus 5 inches from the 37. So the 5 inches will serve as the gathers. So what I'm going to mark now is 32 inches, and I'll also add half an inch joining allowance, so I have 32.5. So I'm going to be marking 32.5, making sure that you place the 6 inches on that starting point line. So go ahead and rule up the line. So I'm going to continue the 4 inches I'm taking off. So after taking off that 4 inches, now I'm going to now start taking all the horizontal measurements from that 4 inches I marked out. So I'm going to mark half of our shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches, and then I'll mark it here. So I'm also going to take our armhole measurement. Our chest line is 9 inches. Okay, make sure you place the 6 inches tape at the starting point line. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and still mark out the half of our shoulder measurement. So right here I'm going to insert half of our bust measurement here plus 1 inch sewing allowance. So I'm marking out our actual chest, our actual shoulder line, so that if you're a beginner, you understand how I'm cutting this. So I'm going to now cut out the actual neck measurement I want for her. So the actual neck measurement is 5.5. So after marking the 5.5, I'll reconnect the armhole. You can see how I'm reconnecting the armhole. Okay, so that is what I have now at the lower part. By the time we gather it together, now it will go back to that 5.5. By that time I gathered that extra 4 inches. So right here I also mark the cutter of our hip. I have the same measurement for our hip and our bust. Okay, so the cutter of our hip is 11 inches plus the extra 4 inches I have left, then sewing allowance of 1 inch, then you connect it together. So you can see that it forms an A shape. I don't want to leave it straight. Okay, so that was why I made the lower part to form an A shape. So I went up by 1 inch to create a curve around there. So go ahead and mark it together like this. Okay, this is very simple to make. So at the neckline, I don't want to leave the neckline straight, so I'll come down by 1 inch from here and then connect it together like this. By the time we gather it, it will go back to the actual neck. So make sure you have the actual neck measurement. Make sure you remember, you take note of your actual neck measurement. So right here I was marking 1 inch sewing allowance, but I later cut it off because it was not necessary, since I was still going to gather the neck area. So there was no need for me to add sewing allowance at the top, so I later cut it off and then replace it with a strap. So I'll go ahead now and cut this out. So after cutting out, you should have something like this. So like I said, the actual neck measurement on fold is 5.5. When I open it up is 11 inches. So that extra 4 inches on fold, if I open it up, is 8 inches. By the time we gather the neck, my neck measurement is going to be 11 inches by the time I gather it together. I hope you understand. So I'm going to cut the gathers now. So this is the gathers. Remember, 5 inches was what I cut off at the lower part of the gown. So I'm going to cut that 5 inches. Now you need half an inch to join the gathers back to the gown. Okay, that makes it 5.5. Then 1 inch for folding allowance at the lower part. So I have 6.5. So 6.5 is the width of this. Okay, why the length is going to be times 2 of what you have at the lower part of the gown. All right, you measure what you have at the lower part of the gown, and times 2 of it is what you're going to cut out, because we are going to gather it before joining it back to the gown. Okay, so right here is my gown. Remember I said this 1 inch here that has folding allowance, that I don't need it. Okay, so I'm going to cut it off. So by the time I'm done gathering the neck, I'll cut out a strap which is about the measurement of the neck, or I'll add just extra 1 inch to it, and then I'll use it to turn the neck once I'm done gathering the neck. I hope you understand. So after cutting out now, the next thing I'll do now is to sew in the armhole area. I'm going to use my bias to cover the armhole area. So, and I'm going to do that for all of the 4 sides of the armhole, both the front and back. I will do that for both the front and back. So after using my bias to turn the armhole, the next thing I'm going to do now is to take in the side seam allowance, so that I can keep both the front and back in place. Okay, so I'm sewing the side seam allowance now, and I'll repeat it for the other side of the gown, just so that I can hold both the front and back in place. Okay, so once that is done, the next thing is to take the gathers at the neck, both for the front and the back, and you're going to be using your loose stitch. The loose stitch of your sewing allowance of your sewing machine is what you are going to use, because you are going to gather the neck. So here the next thing now is for me to just pick a thread. Whatever thread you pick on this side is the same thread you're going to pick on the other side. So go ahead and gather it. Like I said, the neck measurement I'm working with is 11 inches. So after gathering it, I'm going to measure to be sure that I have 11 inches. If you don't have 11 inches, make sure you take the gathers again till you have 11 inches. And once you are sure that you have your neck measurement, go ahead and use your sewing machine to hold it in place. You are going to stitch it down so that you are going to hold all the gathers in place. You do both for both the front and the back bodies. Now that I've secured the gathers, you can see what I have. So I'm going to cut out a strap. Remember, I took 6 inches away as the off shoulder for both the front and back. Okay, and instead of cutting 12 inches, okay, so what I did was I cut out the exact 12 inches, which means I did not add any sewing allowance to the strap. Okay, there is no need of adding sewing allowance to the strap. By the time you join it to both the front and back, it will be firm on you, and the width is 2 inches. So you fold it like half an inch twice, or just fold it the way I'm doing it right now, and I'm going to sew it down. Remember, I'm going to be doing 2 of these. Okay, one for the right side, one for the left side. So after sewing this, I'm going to be sewing this to the wrong side of the fabric. Remember, you're going to be sewing this to the wrong side of the fabric, and then you also cut out a strap, which is the measurement of the neck, and then you use it to turn the neck. All right, that will also be about 2 inches wide. Okay, use it to turn out the neck, and then you sew it down after turning the neck. I lost the video around here where I was joining the fabric I was going to use to turn the neck. So right here is my gathers. Okay, I've gathered the lower part. So the next thing now is for me to sew it around the lower part of this gown. Okay, so once you're done sewing, make sure you give this dress a good press. So here is what my gown looks like. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel so that YouTube can recommend my video to other viewers. I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye bye.